Hello, everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, inside the dark. Bathroom, Kevin stood in front of the cracked mirror, the flickering candlelight reflecting on his face, making it look ghostly. Kevin's voice rang out steadily, repeating the name Michael had read in the notebook. Every time he called out, the mirror shook, making a slight cracking sound. Michael and Lisa held their breath outside the door, Lisa's hand gripping their friend's arm, trembling. They knew that if they let Kevin continue, something terrible would escape. But they also knew that rushing in now would be like pushing themselves into a trap. The candles suddenly flared up. Kevin's shadow stretched across the moldy wall. The boy's voice gradually changed, no longer the familiar voice, but mixed with a deep, hoarse sound, as if someone was repeating it at the same time. Michael was horrified when he realized that it wasn't just Kevin reading, but another voice was also echoing from inside the mirror. The glass cracked more, the cracks spreading like a spider web. From the mirror, Sarah's figure appeared clearer than ever. But this time, her face no longer evoked any of the identity of the 8th grade girl from the day before. Her eyes were empty, the corners of her mouth were torn into a twisted smile. Her pale hand pressed hard against the glass, each finger scratching wildly to find a way out. Kevin stared blankly at the scene, his eyes sparkling as if he was enchanted. He stretched his hand forward, whispering Sarah's name. Michael couldn't bear it anymore, shouting Kevin's name loudly, but the scream seemed to be swallowed by the narrow space. Lisa burst into tears, her voice sobbing, begging Kevin to stop, but he still approached the mirror, his eyes filled with fanaticism. Suddenly, the mirror made a deafening cracking sound. A large crack opened, and thick darkness poured out like smoke. The cold wind whistled through, extinguishing the candle. In that moment, Michael clearly saw Sarah's hand reaching out, tightly grabbing Kevin's wrist. The boy screamed, but did not resist. On the contrary, Kevin squeezed Sarah's hand even tighter, like a thirsty man who had just found a source of water. Lisa screamed, rushing to pull Kevin back. Michael also rushed forward, trying his best to pull his friend away from that monstrous hand. The room was dark. Only screams and the terrifying sound of broken glass could be heard. Kevin was pulled towards the mirror, his upper body almost disappearing behind the glass. Michael used all his strength to hold his friend's shoulder, while Lisa cried and begged Dot in desperation. Michael remembered the last lines in the notebook. He shouted out a few words to break the ritual, although he was not sure if it was the right way. Strangely, the cracks on the mirror shook violently. A piercing screech rang out. Sarah's hand jerked back inside. The darkness receded, and then the crack closed. Kevin fell to the floor, gasping for breath. Michael and Lisa also collapsed, cold sweat pouring down their bodies. The three of them looked at the mirror in panic. It returned to silence. Only the old cracks remained. But in that moment, Michael clearly saw Sarah's eyes still staring from the other side, filled with hatred and despair. The group quickly ran away from the bathroom. On the way, Kevin seemed to be unconscious. He kept muttering that Sarah needed to be saved, that they couldn't leave her. Michael and Lisa could only help him walk, terror rising in their hearts that this wasn't over. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. In his dream, he saw the mirror shattering, hundreds of small pieces of glass floating in the air, each reflecting Sarah's face. She called his name, her voice echoing throughout the room. Michael woke up, his heart pounding. When he looked at the mirror on the table, he was startled to realize that a small crack had appeared, even though it had been there during the day. Lisa was no better. She kept hearing the sound of tapping every time she passed the mirror in the house. One time, while brushing her hair in the mirror, Lisa saw Sarah's figure behind her. But when she turned around, there was no one there. The fear gradually eroded her spirit, leaving her exhausted. Kevin became increasingly unstable. He stopped eating, had dark circles under his eyes, and stared into space. His friends whispered that Kevin was living between two worlds, no longer himself. Michael realized that, despite stopping the ritual that day, the darkness in the mirror still refused to let go. The story is not over yet. Watch the next episode to see what happens when the mirror obsession begins to spread throughout the school.